So I'm gonna do a review of Under a Silver Lake, I think it's called, and this is just the pre-game show. I haven't seen it yet, so after this I'm gonna watch it and then I'm gonna say what I thought. I saw the trailer for this movie a while ago, and it said from the director and writer of You're Next, or no, not You're Next. It Follows, and It Follows I thought was really good, a really good horror movie. Also, the trailer made the movie look really good. Pretty good. Interesting. So I became aware of the movie having been released today because Red Letter Media did a review on it. And I also became aware that I might really like it. It might actually be really good because Red Letter Media really likes it. And because although I distrust their taste in horror movies because they hate a lot of movies that I loved, and they love a lot of horror movies that I hate, I think the one guy, Mike Stoklaska, is pretty smart, and he's pretty smart and creative. And also, he made a good point today where he said that he doesn't like David Lynch type movies, these open-ended, ambiguous, artsy-fartsy shit where it's not discernible where it's going. And that gives me some faith in him because I despise David Lynch. I despise exactly artsy-fartsy shit that is just being weird for the sake of it. And so that makes me think this movie might be good. And there's nothing I need more right now than a great movie, or a movie that I really love, because it's always, it's like being in the desert and finally getting a glass of water. There's not going to be another Breaking Bad for another 10 years. So there was not going to be another great movie for another 20 years. So maybe this will be that. And even if not, I don't mind if it's just really good. But I'm not getting my hopes up too much because all of my hopes are based on Red Letter Media's glowing review. But they also had a glowing review of the movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, who also, they also had a good review of the other movie that by the same director that did Enemy. I think it's called Hostages or something, with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. And I thought those movies were garbage. Subpar writing, subpar story, wannabe artistic, wannabe, try hard, trying to show off, trying to be brilliant. Then the same director did this movie just came out called Velvet Buzzsaw, which was also just pretentious. And again, it's just a guy it's like a Aronofsky kind of guy, trying hard to impress, but biting off more than he can chew. And it would be a lot better if he could just bite off as much as he could chew, aim lower, and hit the mark. That is a very valid way of approaching art as an artist. Don't aim for the sky and create a big mess. Just do what you can do. That's like Johann Sebastian Bach. His music is the most reliably good because he never bites off more than he can chew. And as a result, his music's always perfect. You're never let down. And because he did it so much, he gets a little better, then tries something more ambitious, and before you know it, he's writing the most complex music ever written. So yeah, Darren Aronofsky, big screw up, that one. And I knew like The Fountain, when he made a movie called The Fountain with Hugh Jackman. I admired him for being ambitious, but I think he tried to be too profound, and he also did that with that stupid movie Mother, which I'll never see, but I don't need to. I'm done with Darren Aronofsky ever since he made Black Swan. I realized he was a hack. Slightly off subject, what I've been saying. However, it's totally on subject because that's very much what this movie might be. This movie might be over-ambitious attempt at profundity, and that's what I'm worried about. So now I'm going to watch it, and I'll give my review in my post-credit scene. If you support gays, click like. If you respect blacks, comment. If you think women are people too, click the notification bell. And if you care about sick children, subscribe. You ever wonder why my YouTube videos are choppy and fucked up? It's because I've got a shitty computer and I've got a shitty program for it, and I just lost 5 minutes of speaking about this movie. But that's fine. I'll summarize the first 45 minutes of it. It reminds me a lot of Southland Tales, which is a movie done by the guy that made Donnie Darko. Very much. 45 minutes in, I don't have any idea where it's going, and that's not good. I'm not saying you should always know where it's going, but the movie is two and a half hours long almost. 40 minutes in, you should know what's going on. I don't care how artistic you're being. I'm not a fan of David Lynch. I don't know if I said that in my intro, but yeah, I did say that. It's a little too abstract. I mean, I'm a big believer in leave them wanting more. If I was going to make a movie, I doubt it would be more than an hour and a half, because I don't think you ever need to have a movie be 2.5 hours, including my favorite movie of all time, a 2001 Space Odyssey. That movie could easily have been 45 minutes, and I don't think it would have lost much. Or an hour, or an hour and a half. That 20-minute travel through space-time thing, it was absolutely gratuitous, over-the-top, superfluous. Speaking of A Clockwork Orange, it comes to mind because this movie is filled with gorgeous women all throughout. And I think that's the only way you can make an artistic movie that's commercially viable. And it's either going to be sex, violence, cars, or all of that. And, you know, Stanley Kubrick made A Clockwork Orange because he knew the rape scenes would get a lot of attention. He purposely went for shocks. However, he was still being artistic. However, I'd still say the art of his movies was degraded by the gratuitous violence or sex. It was not necessary, and if he was a good enough storyteller, he could have done it without those things. Which is what I aim for, of course, because I aim higher than everyone else. I'll probably fail, but that's okay. You need to aim high. However, expect to fail if you aim high. And I have a feeling that this guy aimed too high with this movie. Under the Silver Lake? And he'll probably never be able to make a big movie again. It reminds me of Darren Aronofsky, who constantly aims too high. They keep giving him second chances. I guess because of Requiem for a Dream and The Wrestler and Black Swan. But Black Swan was when I realized that he aims... Okay, you can aim too high, but he aims 10 times higher than he's capable of hitting. And by the way, if you don't like this review or you don't like my videos, just remember, they're not for the average idiot that watches, like, Doomcock videos. They're created for people that, you know, like to think, like to put effort into thinking. And, for example, this review is for people who already probably want to see, or are thinking about seeing, Under the Silver Lake. Not the people who only care about watching, you know, Detective Pikachu or whatever. I mean, people who watch Family Guy, I hope they all drop dead. That's how I hate their guts, so I would want them to hate everything that I do. But enough about me for now. A little bit more about the movie, and then a lot more about me. I might not even finish this movie tonight because it doesn't have me interested enough to sit for 2 hours, and that's not saying much because I don't have much of an attention span, but neither does anybody else. So what excuse is that? I mean, yeah, I could sit through Avengers Infinity War or Endgame because, well, that has $200 million. It's like a, you know, it's a visual, you know, I mean, for $200 million, all right, you know, and they're going to all expenses and they're giving you the very best of 100 years of comic book stories. And okay, that's the exception. Maybe you could sit down for 2.5 hours for that. But to ask somebody to check out their art for 2.5 hours, I think that's too much to ask. That's like 1/6 of their whole day. More about me. Everything I've written, there's like moments where people would say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened," and they're not necessarily violent or with sex or any of that, so they're not even cheap. This movie, 50 minutes in, as interesting as it might be, there have been no actual moments where you're "Oh my God, I can't believe that's so cool." Nothing like that. Actually, that's not true. I take that back. There was a really cool part where a guy in a pirate outfit made off with a bag of shit. It was really funny and it was clever. So it's not true. I don't know what it is, but that song from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, where it goes, "Come with me and you'll be in a world of whatever." I don't know what it is, but everybody's using that in their movie lately, and it's just so annoying when something all of a sudden everybody starts doing it. Like, they used it in Ready Player One, now they just used it here, and there's one other movie of recent memory that used it. Oh, Thor Ragnarok, when he was in the, whatever, like on the roller coaster ride. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop at an hour and go to sleep and wake up in the morning, and when I've got more energy, I'll watch the last hour and 20 minutes. I don't know anybody who would sit through this. Actually, I do. But there are people that have a very long attention span. I think this is too much to ask, especially of a mainstream audience. I'd like to think that great art can be appreciated by the mainstream. And you gotta think, like, this guy, the director and writer, I admire him for working so hard. But that movie, It Follows, was like a 7 out of 10 horror movie. It was not high art or anything. It was him getting his foot in the door. This is his sort of sophomore. This is like, okay, now I'm going to show you what I'm made of. It's just too much to ask. You know, Kubrick could get away with 2001 because it was like 1950, and it was a very different time. People didn't need to see huge results as much as they do now. They need to see... this is just... If Kubrick tried to make 2001 in this day and age, well, it wouldn't make any money, I think. I don't think it would. I don't think Kubrick could have done what he did in this day and age. And this movie could very well wrap itself up very nicely by the end. It could have a great ending and it could all make sense. But I'm pretty sure it could have been trimmed down. This first hour could easily have been half an hour, I think. There's such a thing as sticking to the point. Peter Jackson, his Lord of the Rings movies, they didn't have to be 3 hours, as great as they were. Nothing has to be 3 hours. The only exception would be like Infinity War, because it's kind of like a shopping mall and all the stores are all the characters from all the movies. I'm not even sure I'm going to finish this. I might just do what I often do with movies and just read the Wikipedia synopsis of the story. And it's really funny because in a way we're getting back to reading, because movies have become so exhausting that we're back to reading, even if it's Wikipedia. I mean, if I'd rather read the synopsis on Wikipedia, I gotta say the movie has failed to a degree. I mean, yeah. And any piece of art should not leave you having no idea where it's going. Anything, like a piece of music, they're crafted. That's why they have structure. And in order to have a feeling that you know where the movie's going, you have to have an idea about what it's about. The themes are just vague as hell, so there's nothing to hold on to at all. I could see this writer-director doing really well and doing something incredible, or at least being a Darren Aronofsky. I mean, he sucks, but I could see this guy doing something good. I'd say this movie is like a miss, but it's a pretty nice miss. It's a nicely crafted miss. If I was a production company, I'd say, yeah, buddy, we'll give you a huge budget to make another movie because we're very impressed with what you did with this Under the Silver Lake. But we need an assurance that we're gonna know where we're going in this story. You can't just do this again. You have to have a beginning, middle, and end, and we have to know something. And I gotta say, it must be exhausting for a director. It sounds like a terrible life to spend like 4 hours on a movie. And some great directors like Brian De Palma have said this, that, you spend 4 years on a movie and you think it's your best or something, and it fails miserably. When you've made movies that you thought were inferior that do really well. I mean, at least when I write a book, it's only a year out of my life. And if it goes nowhere, fine. But it's only a year out of my life. I don't know that I would want to put that much time into something, even if I got $100 million out of it. Because part of those 4 years are the stress of not knowing if it's going to actually do well. Of not knowing whether it's all for naught. It's like, do you want to bet 4 years of your life, sometimes it's 10 when it comes to movies, on the 1 in 1,000 possibility that you'll make $100 million and then get to do any movie you want and be the toast of town? I mean, from what I know, sometimes a director and writer will put their heart and soul into a movie and 5 years and their whole reputation, and the movie will do terribly, and they'll never make another movie again because it'll break them. That almost happened with Tim Burton, I think, with Batman Returns, which I thought was in many ways one of his best movies, but it did terribly. And he said he wanted to quit making movies altogether after that. I think it really got him down. And I think his movies sucked after that because he no longer was willing to go out of his way to put his heart and soul in anything again. So now he just makes terrible movies. Now he just dials it in. Okay, I watched a little bit more, a few more minutes, and it occurs to me, maybe this was based on Alice in Wonderland, because he's kind of going around chasing things, looking for the white rabbit, and weirder shit happens along the way. I'm reviewing some other reviews of this movie, and they all seem to say that it goes nowhere and it never explains anything, which is terrible to me. One of them mentions Paul Thomas Anderson, who I despise, so they're comparing him to this movie to Paul's. Oh God, I can't stand it. I would say the only reason I'm watching this movie is to watch the hot women, because it's pretty beautiful. Like they're all very beautiful, and they're all dressed in very stereotypical, attractive, like Little Red Riding Hood and a nurse, like all the works, right? It's almost like a fashion show. So watch it for that, I would say, if you're anything like me. But as far as art goes, well, I already made a video about my theory of art, and I think it should communicate something, and it should have a simple idea, simple content. And this thing does not have simple content. It does not communicate an idea, and therefore it's not really art. Art is not just throwing pretty colors at a wall randomly. Porn is throwing pretty colors at a wall randomly, and this movie might as well be porn. I mean, for the fact that it's naked women and women in pretty sexy outfits, all showing up very randomly. Yeah, I'm going to end this here. I'll figure out what to title it. It's not a review, obviously. I really don't feel like I've got anything more to say about it, though. An hour in, I'll watch the rest of it at some point, and I'll make comments about if I was wrong about anything, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I was excited. I was prepared to love this movie, just like I was prepared to love The Sleeping Beauty, a movie starring the girl from Sucker Punch. I'm not sure it was a female director. I was prepared to love that because I thought it was a great idea. I was prepared to love what other movies? The Neon Demon. I was prepared to love Black Swan because I thought Darren Aronofsky was the next big thing, but then I lost all interest in him after that cliche, stereotypical pseudo-intellectual exercise in scholarship. I don't even know if I believe film is a medium that can produce a masterpiece, but the last time I saw truly great, the closest thing to a masterpiece, the last time I saw one was Perfume, the story of a murderer. That was a great movie. I can't wait till another movie like that comes out. It'll probably never happen, though. Well, my movie was a masterpiece. It's on YouTube. The Most Famous Celebrity of All Time. That was probably a masterpiece. If a film can be one. And it's barely even a film. Yeah, people laugh at me, but I thought Silent Hill was pretty great, especially compared to this movie. If you want to talk about approaching art, Silent Hill comes better than this movie does, comes closer. I'm sorry that, Logan is closer to art than this movie. I don't think you need to be artsy-fartsy in order to create great art. I think you need to be to the point, make some sense, let us know what's going on. You don't have to let us hold our, you can have a little bit of ambiguity is good in the right place, not everywhere. I'll close with this. I was watching this video by some guy teaching writing, and he goes, oh my God, just to illustrate how stupid everybody is. He's lecturing a packed house of people, and he's lecturing about writing. I only watched a 5-minute clip of this, but, within that 5-minute clip, here's a little gem he taught. Oh, he was talking about how nothing's really original, so don't ever worry about not being original. And he goes, a filmmaker once said, a famous quote by a filmmaker was that, great filmmakers steal. Okay, so first of all, he doesn't even know who made the quote. Secondly, he's saying it was a filmmaker that made the quote. It was Picasso, it was a painter who made the quote. Third, he got the quote wrong. It wasn't filmmakers, it was artists. Fourth, the entire quote was, a good artist copies, a great artist steals. So, it's funny that this idiot's talking about original ideas, and he's stealing a quote, and he's not even giving the credit to the original person. So on the subject of not being original, he forgets to say that he's paraphrasing. Just say, I heard a quote that goes something like this, but instead he's quoting it direct as if verbatim. Not to mention the point he's making isn't a particularly good one. Everybody should know this. So when I hear shit about how The Wrestler, which I thought was a terrible movie, they say how great it was, I gotta remember that people are extraordinarily stupid. Critics included. Like, the mind wobbles at how stupid people are. So, I'm sure something like The Wrestler or Black Swan would be profound to the average person, and I guess the average critic is has an average mind. They're not ready for like Picasso level genius. The average person is ready for Paul Thomas Anderson. And you know what? This guy in this movie, whatever, The Shape of Water, another tremendous turd. Pan's Labyrinth was better. The Shape of Water was the most awful movie ever. What's this movie called? Silver Lake? Under the Silver Lake. He should do well, because the average person would think this is profound.